Hello guys, today I'm going to teach you how to export a model from Blender to Overgrowth. So first off, we need to download Blender if you haven't done that already, and I'm using Blender 2.55 beta. You can find Blender at www.blender.org, and then you just click that link right there and click that download link there. And here you can select your operating system and download right there. It's available for both Mac, Linux and Windows. So once you've done that, you can just open up Blender. And this is what it looks like when it starts up. You can just click to remove that window. So anyways, this is the interface in Blender. I'm not gonna go into too much detail on how to actually make the model and that kind of stuff, because I just want to get something into Overgrowth and then we can go back afterwards and start asking questions. So I'm going to simply create a simple mesh here. Let's make a torus, or as I like to call them, donuts. I want to make this smooth now, so it's rendered all smooth in the game later. And when I've done that, I just need to unwrap it and then we can export it. So to unwrap it, I go into edit mode. As I said, I won't go into too much detail here. I'm just gonna do it and then I'll maybe show you in a later tutorial how to actually do all this stuff. Then I'm gonna select those and mark a seam. And then I'm going to select the whole donut, click unwrap and then unwrap again and change the method to conformal. And there we have our UV map. Far from optimized, but it'll do for this. I'm just gonna have just a blank texture anyways. So now that we have done all this, we can just export it. All we did was make it smooth shaded and then I unwrapped it. Made a UV map. So I'm gonna export it as a OBJ. Let's just put it on the desktop right there. And you need to check the normals checkbox there when you export the OBJ, otherwise the object will show up as faceted in the game. It won't be smooth like we want it to. You can, if you want to, uncheck materials there. If you have it checked, it will generate an extra file that we don't really need, but you can keep that unchecked so to keep it clean. So let's call this object here donut and export that to the desktop. So here we have our donut object. Now we need to put that in the games folder. So I'm gonna go to my Overgrowth folder and then into data and then custom, and in here you can make a folder for your own stuff. I already have a tutorial folder here. And then I'm gonna go into the objects folder. You have to create these folders manually as well, of course. No, not the objects folder, the models folder. And here I have a couple of models I made before, a sphere and a monkey. So I'm just gonna drag my donut object in there. And now we need a texture for this. I have a couple of textures I made before, but let's copy that texture and open it in GIMP. I'm just gonna have a plain yellow color for this object, and then you can go back later and maybe I'll make a tutorial on how to do the UV mapping and make proper textures another time. But right now I'm just gonna make a very basic yellow texture. So make sure that fits right in there. And then I'm gonna delete all of that. And get the yellow. Okay, and that's awesome. Now in Overgrowth, the transparency of the object determines how shiny it is. So like it is now, it will be very shiny as possible. If I change the opacity down, it'll get less and less shiny. This doesn't work very well in GIMP though, but it seems if I have only one color, this works like it should. So let's put that at like 12.4 there. And then I'm going to save this as donut.png. Oops, you can see the button there. I'm pressing the save button. And export and save, that's fine. Now that we have our texture and our model file, and you also need to have a normal map. I'll give you a link in the below to a blank normal map like this one, so you have something to use. Because if you don't have a normal map, it won't work in the game. So download that normal map for me down below here somewhere, and then go into your objects folder. We have our texture in the texture folder, our donut texture. We have our donut object in the models folder. And then you go into the objects folder, and I'm going to just copy one of these here, and we call it donut. And it's an XML file, as you can see. This file keeps all of the information where everything is, so it brings everything together. It brings the model and the normal map and the the usual texture file together, and makes an in-game object out of them. So first here we have the model, and that is obviously the object file, as you can see. And then we have the color map, that is the diffuse texture, the usual texture file. I don't want to say it's normal, because you might mix it up with the actual normal texture. And this is the normal map. Then you need to have a blank normal even if you don't have a normal. And then the shader path determines where the shader is that you're going to use, and the shader name is the name of the shader you want to use. And these two I'm just gonna have as they are right now. So let's start changing stuff here. Data custom tutorial models, and then it's called donut.obj, as you can see. Data custom tutorial models donut.obj. And then we have the color map, data custom tutorial textures, and then donut.png. And the normal map is called data custom tutorial textures blank underscore normal.png. And that's the one I'm going to use, yes. Textures blank underscore normal.png. As I said, this will be for download below here somewhere. And then we have the shaders. So everything here should work now in the game. I'll give you a link where you can download this text as well. I'll give you a paste bin link below here, so you won't have to write this yourself from scratch, because that's just unnecessary. So now I save that file, save, I just saved it, okay. File save, and then you can start the game, and it should work to import the object. I'm just gonna pick the red desert level. And welcome back. I just cut out some of that loading time right there. So let's zoom down to the surface of this level. Click the, you can click either the add object button right there, or you can go to the load item button right there. Just click that. Should bring up a item browser. And your item won't show up in this list here. You need to do some special stuff for that work. So just click the folder icon right there. And then go to your data folder, Overgrowth, data, and custom, and then my tutorial folder. And then in your objects folder you have your donut.xml. So you open up your donut.xml. And then you just click somewhere, and it should pop up right there. And there you have it. That's how you import a model into Overgrowth. So if you found this tutorial useful, I hope you give me a thumbs up, and if you want more of this tutorial as they come out, you can subscribe if you're in YouTube right above, or you can, if you're on ModDB, you can click the track me button below. It's like a gray eye icon kind of thing. But don't click it if you're already tracking me, because then you will untrack me, and you don't want to do that. I also want to tell you that I now have a Steam group for all of my tutorials. So if you're using Steam and you'd like to get notified every time anything happens with the Silverfish's tutorials, basically if I release a new tutorial, or if there's a stream going on or something like that, it'll pop up if you have Steam running right then, so you'll know instantly. And talking about streams, I have started doing a weekly Overgrowth stream. So if you're interested in some live Overgrowth action. Maybe you haven't bought the game and want to see some more of it, or you just want to learn some more about Overgrowth in general, you can join me. And to get some more info about that, you can check the Steam group. I will have a link to the Steam group page right below, so you can go there and take a look at the information right there. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and yeah, I hope you had a Merry Christmas as well. So yeah, awesome. Bye.